Attention, attention, a new ASK MandRproductions is about to start. Please be seated. Goldfish, Fat smile back. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Ask MandRproductions series where I answer your questions. So if you have a question that you want me to answer on next week's show, go ahead and leave it in the comment section right now. While you're down there, go ahead and drop a like on the video if you do enjoy, and if you're new around here, subscribe. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the first question. The first question comes from Productions / Stop Motions, and he says, what Star Wars TV show would you like to see? And I do know that they are announcing a new Star Wars TV show at the next Star Wars Celebration, which I think is next year in 2018 or the year after in 2019. I'm not 100% sure. I'm hoping that it's going to take place between episode 6 and 7. I think that's the most logical place for them to go with a new TV show. Obviously, that's something that hasn't had its bridge gapped yet, at least in a TV show or movie. So we've obviously had Rogue One and Star Wars Rebels between 3 and 4. We've had the Clone Wars between 2 and 3. And now we just need something to fill the gap between 6 and 7. I think that would make the most sense. There's like a 20-year gap there where we don't know what happened, how Rey was brought up, and, you know, everything with that, how Finn got into the First Order or whatever. So I think that could be really interesting. Next from Lucas, he says, what do you think of Lego prices, and do you think it is overpriced or just right? But I could be wrong because I'm in Canada. So obviously he is going to be of the mindset that it's overpriced. And I do think that in other countries it is overpriced, so much so that you shouldn't buy it in other countries. Like in Canada, the Canadian dollar isn't that far off from the American dollar, yet the prices are exorbitant. Now obviously this has a lot to do probably with taxes and the shipping for Lego to get it there, the logistics and everything. Maybe your local stores just sell it for more, but in the US they tend to have the best prices, and overseas in Europe and China they are much more expensive, and that's where you're going to find more fake Lego stuff. Getting back to the root of the question, I don't think in the US it's overpriced. I think Lego tends to charge a fair price, and when they do have expensive sets, the prices tend to come down after a while. You can always wait for a sale. If you're not having to buy it day one, they always go down. You can always get them on sale at some point during their availability. I mean, barring a super exclusive set, you know, that might be out on the shelves for a month, which rarely if ever happens. But just so you know, everything is always going to be on sale at some point, so you can definitely hold out and wait for better prices if you think something is overpriced. Rob Jackson says, what is your favorite non-Star Wars Lego set? Wow. Honestly, recently I've really liked the Saturn V, and that's a set that I want to buy. I also like the Space Shuttle set from the 2012, one of those years. The Space Shuttle set was on the cover of one of the Lego catalogs. I remember that. It was a pretty neat set. So one of those sets, one of those NASA related sets tend to be what I like. For some reason, I just tend to gravitate towards that spaceshipy vibe, and maybe that's because it's kind of like Star Wars, but I don't know. Those are like my two favorite non-Star Wars set, the Saturn V and the Space Shuttle. I do have kind of a nostalgic feeling for an older Space Shuttle launch set too. I'll show you a picture on the screen here. It was one of those first Lego sets that I got as a hand-me-down from my grandfather, and I just really liked it. Like it was something that I put together. I brought out when they were launching the Space Shuttle when I was maybe 6 or 7, and I launched it at the same time that they launched the Space Shuttle. I was like, now ignition, whatever, blah, blah, and I don't know, it was just one of those really cool sets, and you guys can see it here on screen. It's something that I might repurchase. I still have the Space Shuttle from it somewhere on my shelves back there. Here it is. It's obviously in rough condition. Some of the pieces are yellowed. They're a little bit dirty. Some of the stickers are missing, but most of the set here is still intact. Obviously, it's missing its whole launch pad and everything, but it's a pretty neat little Space Shuttle design. I think this was from like 1995, so it's really old now, but it's still just one of those really cool sets. It also came with these Space Shuttle plates, which I thought were really cool. It came with a black and a white one, so a really neat set. I would definitely recommend picking it up. It's one of those older sets that I think really just holds up today still. It's still got a really good looking design, even with the newer Space Shuttles in mind. Blade8304 says, best non-licensed Lego theme, best non-Star Wars licensed theme. So this is a two-part question. So the best non-licensed Lego theme, so like their own proprietary thing, I think I really like the city line. I know I don't buy a lot of it, but a lot of the city stuff is genuinely cool. Now the architecture stuff is really cool too, but I feel like it's too pricey. As far as my favorite non-Star Wars licensed theme, I really like the Toy Story theme back in like 2010. I also really like the Harry Potter and Pirates of the Caribbean themes. I thought those were both really cool. Now again, I don't have many of those sets, but I still look at them and wish I had them, and I honestly think they're really cool. And if they were to come out with more Pirates Pirates of the Caribbean sets that weren't a giant ship that cost $200, I would totally buy them because I really like them. The Smashing Man says, what is your editing software? Simple answer to this question, I use iMovie on my computer to edit everything. I used to use Windows Movie Maker until 2015, and now I use iMovie. I'm hoping to move on to something like Premiere Pro or Final Cut Pro from Apple in the near future, but for now I still use iMovie. Again, I want to move up to something that I can do more with than I do now, and that's probably the goal by the end of this year. James Gaming 375 says, do you think a LEGO UCS Star Destroyer is coming in 2018? And now what interests me about this, and really made me think this for a little while, is that when the UCS Millennium Falcon was first coming out, we saw this Star Destroyer down here. And if we remember when the Death Star came out in 2016, it had a silhouette of the Millennium Falcon, and now obviously we have the Millennium Falcon. So seeing the silhouette of the Star Destroyer with the light right behind it made me think, you know, maybe we're getting a UCS Star Destroyer in 2018. And now I'm not saying it's not going to happen. I still really hope it will happen. I hope we get one. But I really looked close into this, and the silhouette that we're seeing is actually the Star Destroyer from 2014. It is exactly that Star Destroyer. You can tell when you look at it. That's the best way to put it. It's the 2014 model. It's not a black silhouette of something we can't really tell if it's new or old. But I really hope we get one, but I don't know. There's no official rumor on what the 2018 UCS sets will be, although I've heard the Y-Wing and obviously the Star Destroyer, so maybe we'll get one of the two. Although I'd like to see something from the new movies. Graham Joseph says, Ryan, my question is, if you could pick a Star Wars standalone film on Darth Maul or Grand Admiral Thrawn, I would pick Darth Maul. I really like how Darth Maul looks. Like, his whole character is, like, really cool. I love his paint on his face. Like, I love that they brought him back in the Clone Wars. I didn't so much love that they brought him back in Rebels, but I'm glad that there is some closure to his storyline. But I would like to see the beginning of his story. I would like to see his upbringing, how he got swayed to become a Sith. I would just love to see that whole story with him and Count Dooku and whatnot. Or did he become swayed? I can't remember if he got swayed to become to a Sith. I know Count Dooku was a Jedi. Maybe Darth Maul wasn't to begin with. But I would still love to see how that happened and how they came in contact and everything. I think a Darth Maul backstory film would be really cool. Daddy Hill says, if the LEGO Star Wars theme ended right now, what LEGO theme would you collect instead, or would you stop collecting LEGO in general? If the LEGO Star Wars theme just ended abruptly, I would have a hard time coping with it, first of all. I think I would first go back and buy a lot of the older Star Wars sets, because obviously I wouldn't be spending money on the newer stuff. I could go back and, you know, get all the sets that I haven't bought from the past, 20 years of sets. There's a lot of sets that I still don't have, believe it or not, looking at my shelves. But I would definitely go back and buy some of the older stuff. That would probably last me like 5 years of just, until I had everything I really wanted. And then I would probably go into like Pirates of the Caribbean, Harry Potter. Hopefully they'd have newer stuff for that. I would definitely probably get into Lego City a little bit more, because that seems to be something that's really popular, and it's something that really does interest me. A lot of the creator sets, the bigger creator buildings, like the, the palaces or whatnot they are, emporiums. I can't remember what they're called. Mason Berger says, do you think we will ever get another Republic dropship despite the Clone Wars line being virtually obsolete? Now, this is a really interesting question, because the Republic dropship is something that was a huge Lego set in 2009. $250, had a bunch of pieces. It was also included with the ATOT. Now, I really don't think we'll get another Republic dropship. It would be very hard for me to believe we will, especially at like $250, $300 that it would cost for them to make it. And I don't think a lot of people would buy it, because it wouldn't be, the in thing compared to the newer movies. I do think we might get another Republic gunship, though, seeing as that's been really popular on the secondary market lately. I've seen the prices for those things sealed skyrocket. It's like $250 sealed for a Republic gunship, so I think that could be something interesting for $120 if they were to remake that again. But I really just don't see them remaking the Republic dropship. It just probably won't happen, unfortunately. At least not until they, revisit some of the Clone Wars stuff completely, maybe in a movie or a TV show or something. But it's just really hard for me to believe that they would make another one of those when there's so much other stuff they could make. That's the real thing there. Firedmon62015 Gaming says, another great video, thank you. My question is, if you had to choose one LEGO Star Wars set to have never been made, what would it be? I would pick the Pirate Tank. I hate that set so much. The Pirate Tank. Yeah, I would pick the Pirate Tank. I mean, I'm sure there's some other sets out there that look terrible, earlier on sets from like the early 2000s, but I would pick the 2009 Pirate Tank. I just have an irrational hate for that set, and just the Pirate Tank is the worst set ever made. I've completely convinced myself of that, whether it to be true or not. My own opinion is that it's the worst set ever made. And finally, 91 Brick Studios says, do you think we will get a Clone Wars line for the 2018 summer line because it's the 10th anniversary? I think it's possible. 2018 summer sets, we might get some Clone Wars sets, but I wouldn't bet a lot of money on it. We're going to have obviously the Han Solo film having just come out. We're going to have some Last Jedi sets in that wave, and they might be able to stick a few Clone Wars sets in there, but there's no way to know. I really just think maybe we'll get a couple. Like, I don't think they're going to go full out for it, unfortunately. I don't think LEGO is that big into making stuff for the anniversary of films. Just looking in the recent years, they just haven't done that, I think, but I would say it's possible we get a couple, maybe a New Republic gunship, maybe a new AAT or something for the droids, but I just don't see too much for them to do as far as with all the other stuff going on with the Han Solo film, Last Jedi, and obviously they'll be working very hard towards making sets for Episode 9 and so on and other stuff. So I think it's possible, but I'm not going to bet a lot of money on it. And that's it for this week's Ask MandRproductions. If you guys did enjoy, leave a like. If you have a question you want me to answer for you next week, leave it in the comments section below. I'm open to anything, and I'll go through and pick about 10 of them in a few days, so make sure you leave that comment ASAP. Thank y'all for watching, guys. Please subscribe if you enjoyed and you're new around here, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out. Alright, let's see how that turned out.